E-mountain biking has one massive problem, and that's racing. Disagreements about power, disadvantages with weight, questions over format, distance and batteries, especially surrounding pro-level events. However, at the same time, amateur riders all over the world are enjoying amazing events that introduce riders to new trails, new adventures, and are great social occasions. This film investigates those power battles, the formats, and we go racing with eMTB legends such as Danny MacAskill and Tracy Moseley. Now, mountain bike racing, as in the non-pedal assist, is a representation of what each breed of bike is great at. For example, cross-country racing set around rolling ups and downs around a loop, downhill racing through the most technical of terrain, and enduro, a hybrid of both. So what should e-bike racing look like? It makes sense that an eMTB race celebrates the essence of everything an eMTB is great at. Except, well, an eMTB is great at everything. How then do you create a race that tests the rider and the bike to the max? A format that pushes physicality as well as the technology. Now, I've been pondering this for some time, and I've been thinking, is that the actual question that we should be asking? What we have here are brilliantly capable bikes, immense adventure opportunities, widening horizons, and technology which is simply off the charts. But in reality, an off-road two-wheeler, which is actually more pastime than fast time. Is it a case that we should actually be looking for something which aligns more with an event than an adrenaline-fueled head-to-head?
That's a good question. I think it should be fun. I think there's better formats. I like the eMTB challenge, that Bosch puts on, because it's really not a race so much. It can be, but it's more like you go with a bunch of guys, you ride along the ride. It's like a 3-4 hour affair. You even stop for lunch, but then you go with your mates, you wait for them, and then you go to these 5 or 6 timed sections where you get measured, where you can duke it out with your buddies, and they're pretty short sections, 1 to 3 minutes. And I think that's a really cool format.
So I definitely think, ideally, it should be made specific for e-bikes. So I was never the biggest fan of an Enduro World Cup where you do all the bike park stages and then you do one tiny uphill stage. I don't think this is e-bike specific. Because when you go out on an e-bike ride, you want to go uphill, but you also want to go downhill in the same turn. So why would you just go uphill and stop on the top? It doesn't make any sense for me.
Oh, yeah. I think it's great to have all these kinds of different formats right now, because nobody really knows what is e-mountain bike racing about. And then there's also a lot of stuff like the technical side. You can, motor tuning and stuff like that.
Well, I'd like to see more e-mountain bike racing and working out how the format is and what it kind of looks like. Because there's been over the years, different versions of it, but I'm not sure it's really found its home, and also showing off what you can do on an e-mountain bike. Because the capabilities of it, up and down, are so good that, how can they actually showcase that the best? And also level it for a lot of the riders, and not just who's got the most power or something, but also the ability of the riders and fitness, and trying to show the other elements of it, really.
So who then will be the people taking part in these races, these events? Certainly most people, maybe 95%, will be there for the adventure, the challenge, bit of personal skills, pushing the limits, but certainly not for the win. Bosch have invited us here to Italy to take a look at their own event format, a place for riders and racers alike in what is essentially a very young sport. But it does beg the question, should the future for the next generation of riders be about evolving a new model, a new format, rather than copying the MTB ones? Well, We're here at the Bosch eMTB Challenge in Riva del Garda, Italy. Now, what a stunning location this is. It's attracted an entry of over 200 riders in categories from amateur, advanced and pro level. The format of Garda takes place in the incredible hills surrounding the town, with downhill time sections, some with uphill parts, some climbing stages of different severity, and all held together with an element of route finding.
I would say just a perfect day on a bike. You know, you're gonna have really good stages, really good trails. Can share the day with your friends, and there's also gonna be a really nice feed zone.
Okay, we got ride number 22. What's the attraction of the Bosch eMTB Challenge for you?
For me, actually, it's the first time riding a eMTB race. I've been riding enduro races for ages, so it's really interesting, especially going up hills, and racing uphill is also quite interesting, I guess. So.
I really like the mix of orientation riding, group riding, but also really challenging trails, which are like uphill, downhill, and it's like a really cool mix, actually.
And a lovely location, right?
Exactly, and this year we also have the sun, so it's even better.
It's much fun. The track is great. I don't have to think where I go by myself. That's cool.
It doesn't need to be stressed, does it?
No, it's not a stress thing. Of course, it's a competition, but people want to enjoy riding together as well.
Now, like I said earlier, this event attracts amateurs, advanced and pro-level riders. Bumped into this character all the way from the Isle of Skye.
Just come down, actually. Just come down from the Isle of Skye.
What's the attraction of the Bosch eMTB Challenge, Danny?
Well, it's actually going to be my first event since 2008. Last thing I did.
You must be looking forward to the uphill challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's the kind of stuff I'm doing a lot of. I mean, I'm not in this to really serve. I'm taking part. I'm not competing, let's say. So
same here.
Yeah.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
How about? Would you mind if I come and road with you today on the eMTB Challenge?
Of course.
Legend.
That should be good. You can show me how it's done, actually. I'll watch and then, see the lines.
See what he did there? Just switched it round in an instant.
Perfect. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just coming up to the first stage. Hans Rey in front, ready to go. Here we are, first stage of the Bosch e-bike challenge. Let's see how we go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Here we are, stage 3. Let's go have a hill climb ahead of us, so let's see if I can keep my feet up. So right here, I think stage number 4, or one of the pro stages, so let's see how we go. So far out in the Bosch Challenge, I've been really enjoying it. Scenery's been amazing, and so have the trails.
For me, I think the most challenging thing so far of the mountain bike challenge is route finding.
Yeah, it's a very technical route. I mean, I'm today, have to say I'm a bit of a passenger, as per usual. I'm kind of, we're with the big boss himself, Klaus, so he should really know where we're going. So I'm following along, but it is a very technical route.
The liaison stages were, I think they were just about on the right limit, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of some of my favorite kinds of climbs where you've got good grip and just really steep. So, yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, the views everywhere you're going around. I mean, I've not spent that much time here, so yeah, I'm too busy looking at the views and not concentrating on the riding. So. Here we are at stage number 5 of the day. A little bit of climbing, a little bit of descending, some exposure. My kind of scene, I think, so I'll try not to fall off.
Let's go, Danny!
Let's go, Danny!
What did you guys get here? That was fun. Thanks for having us.
It's not a bad spot, is it? Not a bad spot to race. Oh, sorry, I forgot you don't race, dear.
No, I'm eEnduro. I'm well, I don't know what you even call me. A bicyclist.
What was your favourite part of the day?
My favourite part of the day, of course, it's got to be the descent. I mean, that's why we all go uphill in the first place. I do love a good descent, especially blind. I actually quite rate that kind of stuff. The crack was very good, and yeah, I loved it. I definitely see this format as being where it's at for e-bike racing. You know, it's like perfect use of it. Stage race, you know, get up to a certain point and then turn it on for a good bit and then cruise in between. So maybe a little bit more of the trial stuff I think could be really cool, and I think that's what these bikes are really good for. It's like this kind of getting up and over obstacles, turns, a little bit of narrow kind of North Shore style stuff as well. So,
you know, adventure, new trails. I mean, that's part that, you know, location is part of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, picking the right location with the right style of trails helps a lot. So, yeah.
So here we are on the beach.
It's not so bad, is it?
Garda has been a great event, and clearly people take part for a variety of reasons. This year, the Bosch eMTB Challenge is taking place on many continents. The overwhelming vibe is very much about fun. The inclusion of a pro category is just part of its growth.
So the downhill is obviously my first interest, and the second would be the uphills, and the scenery obviously is for free and is pretty cool here.
The most time you are with friends on the track and you have just fun, and after the challenges we speak how it was. Oh, there was a little bit grittly. So it's just fun.
It socially went for me. For him, perhaps a challenge, also for him, but for me was a great adventure.
Racing is also key for manufacturers, for product development. Take Bosch, who work very closely with athletes to develop and test such things as motors and signature features like overrun. This year, Bosch gained a significant amount of medals at the World Championships. Companies like Bosch are helping to shape the future with groundbreaking technologies and visionary solutions, hence their deep interest into what the future of racing holds. 2025 was a big moment for eMTB in the iconic mountain bike location of Whistler, and where the Bosch eMTB Challenge has widened its reach and is taking place for the first time in British Columbia. We caught up with two newcomers to eMTB racing, Christine and Scott, who both took part in this watershed event.
We did it for socializing, meeting more people, just to see. It looked like a really fun event.
Yeah, like before this, we just figured like we're not really racers, so we thought we'll just do this at our regular riding pace that we kind of normally do and see how it goes. We're not really beginners, but you know, we're certainly not, we're not making money at this, if you know what I mean. Like
the power stages could have been a little harder, in our opinion, except for that one crux, which you couldn't see.
Or it's, you know, hard to, I mean, it's hard for them to kind of plan a course that involves beginners to elite experts. So I'm sure, you know, they had to make a compromise. You know, I mean, there's so many, the potential of what they could do with it is, you know, like if they added some ladder bridges or some step ups or a couple neat, you know, on the climbs, big steps where you have to kind of, you know, fish up or hop up. I mean, it'd be endless of where it could go.
We return to sea level for a moment to ponder. Now, if we look at mountain bike racing, that is one of breeds, clans, classifications and technology suited around each discipline. Can we actually learn from mountain bike racing?
There's a special thing about e-biking, and I think you need to put in all the advantages of an e-mountain bike into this event. And so I think it should be different than all the other sports. You know, it could be, there's cross-country racing, there's downhill racing, there's e-mountain bike racing. But then still you have to find the right format.
There are also more grounded questions, unfortunately, as well. You know, when you're talking about racing, well, it needs to answer effectively to 5 pillars. So you've got the athletes, do they want to do it? You've got the industry, do they want to invest in it? You've got the institutions, do they want to ratify it? You've got the media, do they want to talk about it? And you've also got the local organising committees. Have you got anybody that actually wants to organise it? So basically, you've got to join up the 5 groups and then move forwards together. Because if you just have one that dominates the others, then unfortunately, it stalls.
Yeah, I don't think e-mountain biking racing should necessarily follow traditional mountain bike race. I think we can come up with our own formats and get creative. Bosch did it with the eMTB challenge. There's other formats that can work out. So I think, I mean, the sport is young, you know, let's give it some time.
Now, initial analysis would suggest we need to find our own identity. After all, cycle sport has evolved into road and track, into mountain biking, downhill, cross-country, marathon. Is there a danger we're trying to shoehorn too many disciplines into one event?
Very soon we find there is definitely a demand for fun amateur-style events, and that the hardest question to answer is what format should pro-level events take? And should racing mix amateur and pro riders alike?
So what have we got at the moment in terms of events at the highest level? Well, the Enduro World Series, as it was at the time over 5 years ago, held a test event here on the slopes of Finale to see what the future format could look like at the highest level. And many people decided at the time, including people from the industry, was that the mountain bike enduro model was best suited to e-bike racing in terms of pushing the rider and technology.
I think enduro e-biking could be also cool, as long as the battery is not too crucial, the battery management to make it up. If they make them too long and you have to start riding up in eco with your downhill helmet on and the pads, I think then it's, you know, it should be kind of easy to get to the start and then, like, you know, race down.
Yeah, to me, yeah, it's hard to make one perfect event for e-bike, but I think enduro e-bike can be one sport, and I think it's really the best tool to use e-bike to me. When you go cross-country, it's different. When you go maybe like shuttle bike, it's different. But enduro e-bike has its place, I think, and it was pretty great in the past when we had free battery to make really hard World Cups. Last year was okay. It was a little bit smaller, but still technical, and we were able to use the motor, even to do more stages. At the end of the day, when you got 40 minutes while the classic bike have only 20 minutes, it's great, I think.
At world level then, at least, the sport kind of mirrored MTB enduro racing, with the bias more towards gravity over uphill, a load of downhill time stages and a couple of uphill power stages. That sport has now been put on hold. It seems the demand for full-gas UCI World Cup racing is quite thin. On the other hand, more relaxed events are quite popular. Maybe the World Series was too enduro, too serious, too expensive, or maybe just too difficult.
So you've got World Cups in both disciplines. You also have World Championships in both disciplines. And what we found was that the actual rider numbers are quite stable on enduro. So on the enduro level, you know, we had the same 40, 50, 60 riders coming every round, but that number was pretty fixed throughout the year. We know from enduro and from other disciplines, you generally get a 50% spike when you go to World Championships. In Canada this year, we had the highest participation last year in 2024. We had the highest participation number of an e-enduro event on a world level. So the numbers were pretty stable, but when you're looking at sort of 40, 50, 60 riders, it wasn't the ramp and the take-up of at least the open categories that I think people were expecting. So that's when the hard questions come in.
I really do look forward to there being like a one-in, all-in opportunity to really send it. That's like the world's format, and that's really sweet. And I think doing that this year is great, and it's a big focus of mine and Shimano and Yeti's. The ideal format. I really liked what they did in Canazei at World Championships, where there were 3 power stages, and the power stages were uniquely World Championships made. They were harder, they were more brutal, they were more physically demanding, more mentally demanding. One of them was held kind of like in an arena almost, like right near the finish bowl, so everybody could watch, everybody could scream at you and tell you to go faster and stay on your bike. And I think really what people need to see is what these bikes are capable of, because when you stand alongside a power stage and see the ridiculous and bizarre terrain that a bike can actually get up, you start to gain a little bit more respect and appreciation for e-bikes.
Yet the bigger picture reveals very varied formats, racing, events and adventures. There are some incredible examples of eMTB racing worldwide, and formats that really do spread the wings of these great bikes. For example, the Tour du Mont Blanc, a 3-day race with 6,000 to 7,000 meters of climbing and descending per day. Yes, you heard that right. 8 to 10 hours in the saddle, a dual rider format where the first pair getting to the line wins the event. Brutal and yet brilliant against an utterly mesmerizing backdrop.
And I did some years ago the e-Tour de Mont Blanc in Verbier. And that, for me, was almost perfect. 20-minute, half-an-hour stages on terrain, which is not rideable on a normal enduro bike. Very important. And it has uphill and downhill sections in one stage. That would be ideal. And if you want to attract as many racers as possible, you should try to make it very technical. So the technical skills are the key point. I think that is super important.
And what part should uphill play in this puzzle?
For now, all is quiet on the extreme technical power stages here in Finale, which we'll return to later. But where are the riders?
Bosch have established a format that clearly works, one that seems to suit both pro and amateurs in a made-for-purpose eMTB event. But can MTB and eMTB live together? We travelled to France to find some answers at the European eMTB Enduro Tour.
Today we're above Vallandry to continue our investigation into eMTB racing. You can see just through the clouds in the background Mont Blanc. Now, if you were to take a look at the brief history of eMTB racing, I think events such as the Tour du Mont Blanc, a 3-day race, 5,000 to 6,000 meters of climbing each day. They're very much an event with a limited field. The UCI have had a World Championship cross-country eMTB race, 9 to 10 laps of 6 minutes. Maybe a little bit dull if you ask me. Then if you look at series such as California have had some eMTB series, so have 2 of Italy. They've also had a very successful outdoor super enduro eMTB series of events. Across the Atlantic, in BC, the Megavolt attracted 50 to 60 riders, very good subscription. And then, of course, there was the eEnduro World Cup, the UCI eEnduro World Cup, which was actually put on hold this year. Now, the reason we've come to Vallandry is to take a closer look at an alternative eMTB event. What we have here is the eMTB European Enduro Tour. It's a 2-day format. Day 1 is 4 stages plus a power stage. Those stages are around about 5 to 10 minutes before coming up here to day 2 via a gondola, around about 10,000 feet. So the stages are a little bit more out there and certainly longer. And if I was to give you one reason why you should come to an event like this, look at that.
The eMTB class gets 1 practice run on each stage before riders have to put in a time. The location is impressive, but what about the stages? Are they the style that could influence pro racing in the future?
Classic alpine French enduro style single track, lots of long grass, lots of ruts, you really need to look ahead to know where you're going. Bits of tape to follow, pretty vague in places, but really fun. The kind of enduro stuff that I fell in love with like 12, 15, 13 years ago probably. So
it's the source of enduro, of a mountain bike, and the landscapes are amazing.
Yeah.
The views are awesome, and it could be a little bit more of climbing, but it's already good.
It feels a lot more grassroots when you come back to these national enduros. This year particularly, there seems to be a lot of enthusiasm around racing enduro again at a national level, which is really cool. I think the World Series has become, such an elite level event now. It's been quite hard for them to get entries. It almost doesn't seem worthwhile. And certainly for the e-bike, there isn't any other events to do on a world stage. So this is kind of the biggest series that we can do now.
It was a very good enduro race. It was very efficient, very full on in the sense that we didn't have too much time waiting, which is good in the sense of that in the e-bike you look for efficiency and keep going. We had very good stages, long stages, different. We raced today in the morning alpine stage, beautiful scenery, tight and narrow trails. Then we had like bike park or loamy, like very bumpy terrain. And no, it was actually my favorite round, I think.
I think if, like last year in the Finale World Cup, I think was the best format because we had really technical transition. The time was limited, short, so you have to manage your battery. And some stages had uphill and downhill. It's a mix.
eMTB racing then seems to have 4 clear challenges facing it: the future of professional racing, amateur racing, motor power, power stages and battery capacity, and finally, adventure.
Enduro itself has 5 stages and 58 kilometers of racing. eEnduro has 78 kilometers and 11 stages, 4 of which are power stages. And that's a really key thing, I believe, into actually communicating onto the value and why we have e-bike racing, because there's something that's actually structurally designed for that and how we can relay that message. And so, yes, you're looking at something that's automatically 25% bigger than what we've got before. So why wouldn't it be interesting? Why wouldn't it be appealing?
The question soon came up about battery consumption at such events for both pro and amateur classes. Could future events take the Gran Fondo big ride approach, a mix of competition and leisure, designed for a wide range of participants, with a prologue even?
The heart of enduro is still that amateurs can race against pros. That has always been like the key point, and I think they should keep that with e-bike racing as well.
Quite techy start. Beautiful single track. Whoa, blind ridge. One of the great things about coming to a race is the fact that you don't have to race. You can just ride tracks where you know they're going to be taped out, good definition, good variety, not a super amount of traffic on the track. It's just great.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to do these multiple loops, you've got to have that second battery. That's not always easy for people to have more than one. Sometimes changing batteries isn't a quick fix on some bikes. So I do think there's definitely an element where we could push the limits of the rider's ability and also the bike's ability if we kind of have a pro section. Mm-hmm. But then you also don't want to lose the fact that you want to appeal to the masses too, because it is enduro, and ultimately enduro is this fun discipline that everyone loves to do. So it's hard to know kind of what's going to be the balance, but I just think we still need adventures. We still need to be in the mountains, doing big days, doing stuff that you wouldn't be able to do on a normal bike, without that motor. That's going to be the difference, and it needs to be different. It needs to be e-biking, it needs to be not just enduro with an e-bike. And I think that's the biggest challenge we're facing, is trying to work out what that format looks like.
I think it's really important to have both, because some people buy e-bikes not to make more, but to make it easier. And there are people that want to make more or to descend more. So I think it's really important to have both. And in French Cups, we have from the beginning both categories. And I think it's really important. But when you quote a category elite, it scares many people, and so we are not many. But actually, it's just riding more.
But eMTB faces one other key challenge: and that's power.
What it eventually comes down to is it's a mixture between the skill of the rider and the amount of watts per kilo they can put down, with watts being how much is in your legs and how much is on your bike. And sorry to say to a lot of people, but my watts plus my bike is more than them. So you can't beat that. So I think that's what definitely helped me in 2024. Like Jared and I put a huge amount of emphasis on max power and being a sprinter, and also being like really, really skillful. So combining those two was definitely key in getting that title.
It seems power will certainly dominate the discussion for some time. The UCI made a ruling in 2025 that motors should be limited to 750 watts peak power, which they implemented at the World Championships, thereby eliminating many brands. Still, could uphill racing offer an attractive element for spectators?
Wow, what a place. Really is savage for a rider on race day, where the crowds are but feet away from you when you're in maximum heart rate and trying to navigate a really technical path. Climbing has always been a kind of sticking point with eMTB racing. More power leading to faster climbing times, in theory at least. The inequality of bikes and motors and power has always been bubbling around in the background. At the same time, so too has rider weight. A 90-kilo rider was always seen to be at a disadvantage over a 60-kilo rider on climbs like this.
What I think 2024 saw was the introduction of skill triumphing over the power of the bike, or the sheer power of the bike. Because, I mean, I remember going into the series at 85 kilos on Shimano motor, being told you're not going to stand a chance because you're heavy. And then we went into 2024, and then all of a sudden, you not only need a huge amount of skill, but you need watts per kilo to get it done as well. And it's not just grinding straight up a hill, there's so much more to it. Like, it's a huge amount of nuance. And I think that they really landed on a good format, with the power stages almost being like a trials demonstration, where you got to go up and down and around and move and actually showcase more than the bike's peak output. You can see what the bike's peak output is on a spreadsheet, but you can't see what the bike's capable of until you put it through a course like that.
So in every sport you have an optimum physique which gives you the advantage, like MotoGP riders are, or horseback riding jockeys are typically shorter and having less weight, but a basketball player is tall. So with that, also for e-mountain bike racing, for different formats, you may want to compete where you bring the best assets.
Maybe Ryan Gilchrist was an exception to the rule, because broadly speaking, the heavier riders were at a disadvantage. Although we did actually see many 60-kilo riders with 110 Nm bikes be slower than the heavier riders, depending on the technicality of the terrain. I mean, so what, many people will ask. I mean, cycle racing has always been about the evolution of the species, right?
We now turn our attention to battery capacity.
Flo, just a minute ago, Marcus and the Bosch crew were giving you support, changing your battery, which requires on the Orbea Wild, take the battery out. 750 or 600 on this today?
I'm sticking to the 600 just because it's lighter and I think I can manage the whole loop with that. Of course, I lose a little bit the peak power, and as my battery consumes faster than 800 or 750, might not be ideal, but I also gain the lighter and the feeling with the bike.
When we look at e-bike racing in the future, what's your thoughts on the amount of batteries, the amount of fuel riders will require? I mean, do you think 1 battery, 2 batteries, 3 batteries? Obviously, you're getting fantastic support here at the Bosch truck.
Yeah, I think that to get more people into racing and to consolidate a big base of racers of e-bike, that is the main struggle now. Not too many people race e-bike. A lot of people ride e-bike, but not race e-bike.
Yeah.
You need to make it accessible. So when you put the 2 battery or battery change thing, which I love because you ride more, you're taking out a lot of people that only have the bike and 1 battery. Yeah, let's hope that the technology develops in the way that we can still manage to do an awesome race, a big day of riding without changing the battery in the future. I think that would be awesome.
No, I think actually it's really good format with just 2 batteries. I think it's pretty, like, everyone can access more or less like to have like 2 batteries, and even if you are not pro rider. So I think it's a really good format. I would say it's really dynamic. We change the battery, but it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think just having one battery means that anyone can come and have a go. It's just a bike that you buy, and I think you can do a lot on one battery. I think you can definitely manage the battery. You can use a lift here as well, so you can open up where you can go with using lifts, being in locations like this, and obviously pedaling. So there's loads you can do still on one battery.
If we really are to set eMTB racing free with events such as the Tour de Mont Blanc, battery capacity will be key. But do people want racing to take an adventure format?
This is the kind of thing where I reckon eMTB is in a class of its own. Getting to places like this. Cheap track, go track, out of the way. Amazingness. It gives you feelings, Trace, like seconds before going into a run.
I'm about to love it. Look where we are!
Okay, so now it turns off the flat out double track into something tasty, no doubt. I love it. This is actually why I ride mountain bikes, to ride natural trails, not knowing where I'm going. To me, this is the essence of MTB. Oh, absolutely. It's just... Well, okay, now we have a rider. We interrupt our descent of a pure, magical, natural trail to talk about 2 things. The first one is adventure. Surely an eMTB race has to have an adventure element in it. I mean, yes, there can be timing, but to get out there and see what's out there is really key. The second point, before Louis kills me for being around all the flies and the cows, is actually all about breeds. With mountain bike racing, there's things such as cross-country, as marathon, as downhill, as enduro. Those are all sports and bikes and breeds of rider, if there can be a breed of rider, who are suited to those tasks. Are we actually in danger of trying to cram too many things into one eMTB race? Food for thought, for sure. At the same time, what about the technicality and the gradient and the distance?
You open the range of exploration in the mountain. I get the same feeling with the e-bike. You get to do the same. So some people will look toward that, like to do big mountain biking, like climb up volcanoes or big mountains with the e-bike. That is a great tool. And then when you come to pure racing, it will always be like you trade off a little bit that side and you just focus on racing and climbing and going fast, and you lose a little bit that part. You're still in the mountain, but it's different than doing a multi-stage race with adventure, with battery management. I think that will be like 2 branches of e-bike racing in the future.
Wow, what a weekend in Vallandry. I think a fantastic event. What's quite interesting is this was part of the French Enduro series as well as the European eMTB Enduro Tour. In terms of entries, 350 entries in the MTB class and only 30 entries in the eMTB class. Now, if you compare this to, say, an event in the UK, so the Ardrock event has got 600 to 700 riders in the eMTB category and maybe about 2,000 entrants in the MTB category. I think the hunger for eMTB racing will vary depending on the country you live in. But to summarise this event, I think outstanding tracks, beautiful, natural, flowing tracks up in the mountains and also here in the bike park. Variety of distances. Some were 5 minutes, some were about 10 minutes. I think what was key about this event is the fact that there was the open class where amateurs can run with one battery, and then there was the pro class which needed 2 batteries. What enabled that to take place is the fact that there's chairlift. So I think that is certainly something that event organisers should look at in the future. I'm not sure about the power stage. The thing is, if you come to a place like this in the Alps in the summer, the only people that are likely to be there will be mountain bikers' families, or the event organisers. So trying to get an event in a shopping mall up in the mountains, I'm not sure that actually does anything to further the performance side of eMTB racing. But let's know your thoughts on that subject. And finally, in this investigation into the future of e-mountain bike racing, we got a perspective from an e-bike system brand. So we spoke to Christoph Schumacher of Bosch e-bike systems. Okay, Christoph, what is is e-bike racing important from a brand perspective?
From a system manufacturer perspective, e-bike racing is absolutely important. So we're testing the product to the max with our racing program. We're working together with the riders to get a perfect racy application where we can derive things to the serious development. For us as a system manufacturer brand, it's also an opportunity to have a sportive brand image, because we like racing at Bosch e-bike systems and we're really into sports e-mountain biking, and e-mountain bike racing is the perfect way to pronounce this.
So could you summarize then what are the pillars of e-bike racing going future?
So to develop the e-bike racing much further, we have to have all pillars in. So we have to have the association driving it. We have to have the industry also together with the OE brands, the media broadcasting it. We have to have the locations in to have proper locations to build great racetracks. And we have to have the riders in, because the riders are really driving it.
Wow, eMTB racing, huge subject. Feels like we've only just begun. In this film, we've seen examples of different locations, different events, and also different people. Danny MacAskill, I've not got a competitive bone in my body, he said. And then Tracy Moseley, multiple world champion in different disciplines. I think we've learned lots of things in terms of the track design, track length, location, the types of riders. I think there's a few things, like I said, which we are focusing in on here. And that is, we need to make sure that eMTB racing is equal to all people, certainly in terms of the battery capacity, because not everybody's got the ability to have multiple batteries for events such as this. It is possible, that's for sure. But I think also what I've learnt in the past few months is that riding new tracks in different locations with like-minded people, it just gives you a buzz and it gives you an inspiration to go and try more trails and improve your riding and just see what your eMTB is capable of. So I think more than anything, we'd like to know what you think. What do you think the future of eMTB racing holds? Let us know.